Shalom, shalom, akiyam. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kwedash. I would also like to give a double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. I would also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 men of Israel, which consists of the servants, the prophets, whom have been ordained since the foundations of this earth to sing this new song, which comes in the form of this gospel, which will be preached throughout all four corners of this earth, and rest upon the ears of the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children of Israel, who may be scattered throughout all four corners of this earth. It's just Bayan back again, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And I just wanted to get into a brief lesson and Lord willing share this clip, this news clip with you beloved Akiyam and Akwath, pretty much showing another example of the wages of sin being death. All right, as the scriptures say. And ultimately, we're living in a time now where Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, he's opening up, the floodgates of judgment on you tribes. As we can see what's going on over there in LA, various parts of the country for that matter, regarding ICE, all right, and the Northern Kingdom, being subjugated to deportation, which is ultimately gonna at some point in time rest upon the Southern Kingdom as well, as we inch closer and closer to the perfection of Jacob's trouble. But needless to say, talking to this video, this is another clear example of the scriptures pretty much, reigning supreme regarding the reality of adultery. Okay, and the situation you can get yourself into messing with a woman, preferably that's already involved with another man. Okay, and this is how we know we're living in a wicked society, where you have a woman with 7 kids, talking about she got a boyfriend. Okay, that would be unheard of in the ancient world. All right, she would have been deemed a harlot a long time ago. But sticking to the point, this is how we know we live in a wicked kingdom. All right, this is how we know the society that's being governed by Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is a wicked one. All right, and ultimately, this type of behavior, isn't going to be tolerated in the eon to come. All right, granting access to the righteous rulership, that's going to come with a paradise of a earth. You see, because wickedness won't be flourishing. All right, so this is a clear example, as you Akiyam and Akwath are going to witness in this news clip, of wickedness, man. Being that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man's society, allows women to gather abroad. Okay? But we're in the time of evil, man. We're in the time of evil. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is now holding back those judgments, man. You see? Now we have a situation here. Well, it was a situation. With this Northern Kingdom Eve. I guess she stepped out on her husband. And her and her little boyfriend, and he himself had 4 kids, but they got visited by a cruel messenger, man. And you can only imagine out of the mind, the mindset that old boy had. I mean, the scriptures tell us, that a woman is the glory of a man. So you can only imagine, for your wife that you've brought life into the world with, you've built together, established an empire within your own little, universe, and then she steps out on you, man. that level of betrayal brings rage, man. As a matter of fact, the scriptures talk to that when you go to, let's go here real quick. And this lesson is not going to be long, straight to the point. Right, the book of Proverbs, chapter 6. As a matter of fact, let me get it in the Good News Bible if I have it. Let's go ahead. I'll probably grab it in the KJV as well, but let's just grab it here first. The book of Proverbs, bear with me. The book of Proverbs, chapter 6, and verse 34, and it reads, "A husband is never angrier than when he is jealous. His revenge knows no limits," man. And if you want to get a man jealous, mess with his woman. Okay, that'll trigger that jealous nerve. Okay, which would turn old boy into a barbarian. He will not accept any payment. There will be no reasoning with him. Okay, look at no amount of gifts will satisfy his anger, man. Okay, because ultimately, when you look at it through the spirit, when a man and a woman come together, you become one flesh, man. Okay, that's what marriage is. Marriage is sex. Or I should say sex is marriage. Okay, you become one flesh. Your spirit as a man, okay, radiates on your woman. She starts trying to talk like you. She thinks like you. All right, she picks up your habits. Okay, she becomes accustomed to, what you like, and your manners of life. Okay, because sex is a spiritual thing. This world has made sex into a porn hub, of a joining together. No, man. Sex is supposed to be sacred. It's supposed to be, something that's, meant for, kingdom building. And ultimately, to bring forth life, man. You see, but Esau has made it into this lascivious way of coming together. This uncontrollable lust. To put yourself inside somebody, or for a woman to have somebody inside of her. It's showing you that there's a sick mind, that has been produced, through the fruits of Esau. And if you think about it, messing with another man's woman, man, that's disgusting, man. Think about it. This man's busting nuts all up inside of her. Why would you want to mess with another man's woman? You kissing up on her, she all up in it. He's all up in her mouth. You kissing all up on this married woman. Her husband was all up in her mouth days ago, if not the same day. And you call yourself French kissing her. Make that make sense, man. But it just shows you the wickedness. This is why the scripture speaks against it. Okay? You're not supposed to, a woman, and we're going to show you through the spirit. But as a matter of fact, let's just play this video.
Led to a deadly shooting spree. We're learning more about what led to a deadly shooting spree over the weekend in the IE. 2 people were shot and killed outside a shopping center, followed by an off-duty deputy taking out the suspected gunman.
And now it is news reporter Leticia Juarez is live in Fontana with new details on this story. Leticia.
Well, I'll tell you this, David and Giovanna, we've learned from police that at the time of that shooting, there was plenty of law enforcement in the area, most of them off duty, enjoying the night with their families. But unfortunately, they were unable to do anything about the shooting that took place just outside the sushi restaurant, telling us that it was a domestic violence situation where a woman in the process of getting a divorce was tracked down by her estranged husband, who then shot her and her date here in this parking lot.
We gained all this weight during our pregnancy, because we're not taught to how to properly eat.
Social media influencer and fitness coach Gloria Zamora inspired busy women to get and stay fit. But behind the strength she exhibited on camera, her personal life was taking a hit. Zamora spoke out about her pending divorce to her thousands of followers just last week on the Horizon podcast.
Instead of you being supportive, you're over here trying to just bring me down.
On Saturday night, the 40-year-old alongside 43-year-old Hector Garduno was shot and killed outside a Fontana sushi restaurant.
There was a male and a female that were estranged. They're going through a divorce. That led to this.
Investigators say Zamora's estranged husband, Thomas Alberto Tamayo Lizarraga, gunned down the two in the parking lot.
We don't know how he knew where she was at, but apparently she had been at the restaurant for approximately an hour prior to the shooting.
The shooting caught the attention of several off-duty law enforcement officers in the area who responded to the sound of gunfire, including an off-duty San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy.
Apparently he was driving on the street outside of the shopping center and heard the gunshots and saw what had happened, made a U-turn at the light, and got out of his vehicle to confront the suspect.
Lizarraga was shot and killed during the confrontation. In a GoFundMe page set up for Zamora, her daughter stated that her mother was murdered by her stepdad. Both victims leave behind children. Zamora, a mother of 7, is described as a woman who uplifted others, while Garduno is remembered as a hardworking and devoted father of 4 girls.
So that shows you that old boy, one of those daughters, not this dude. I'm talking about out of the union,
Zamora,
with her and her husband that did the damage. Apparently, one of the 7 kids wasn't his, as we just heard. I guess her daughter mentioned that she was murdered by her stepdad. Her mother was murdered by her stepdad. So, you women play the harlot, man. You women be out here playing the harlot, and it's gonna catch up with you. It caught up with her. All the years of her playing the harlot, going to get the plastic surgery to try to stay intact, going for the facelifts and, the BBLs, all that, okay, and caught up with her. You see? You can only do wickedness so much before you get caught up. What's that? Ecclesiastes, I think that's the 10th chapter. Though a sinner do evil 100 times, at some point you're going to get caught up. Okay? And this is what happened. She was with one dude that, what we just brought out triggered. Let's go back. Let's get it in KJV. Right here, Proverbs 6:34. And it reads, "For jealousy is the rage of a man. Therefore, he will not spare in the day of vengeance," man. All right, you heard the wording they used. They said that he gunned them down. He gunned them down outside of that sushi restaurant, man. Okay? There was no sparing anybody. And when you look at it from a scriptural standpoint, when you talking to the law, through the scriptures, righteous judgment was executed. Ultimately, the Lord took them out. The Lord took her out and her little boyfriend. You see? Yeah, ultimately is what went down. Now, if she would have sat her ass down, all right, and obeyed what the scriptures say, which our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You see, so she didn't understand the treachery. You women of the tribes outside of this truth don't realize the treachery you're committing. Being a harlot, stepping out on your man. You don't realize the danger. See, when you go into the scriptures, let me go ahead real quick. When you go to the book of Romans, see, in this world, old boy's like going to be estranged and out of his mind. But at the end of the day, when you look into the scriptures, as far as adultery is concerned, and we're going to show you, right, what the scriptures say. She was committing adultery because she stepped out on old boy, and her little boyfriend was committing adultery because he was dealing with a taken woman. Okay? Now let's go. Romans 7. in verse 2, and it reads, "For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law of her husband so long as he liveth." Okay? "But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband." You see? So what is she committing if she steps out on her husband that's still alive? Yeah, you guessed it, adultery. Okay, let's go here real quick. The book of Mark, chapter 10. Bear with me. I think I went right past it. I did. Yahweh Shai speaking. The book of Mark, chapter 10 and verse 12, and it reads, "And if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committeth adultery." Okay? As we just read in Romans 7, he would have to be dead in efforts to move on and be loose from her husband's law. Okay? Showing you that she's a possession under the yoke of her husband. That's the reality of this thing. That's how Yahweh Bashim Yahushai set it up. And this is what you women are going to learn in the kingdom. Okay? You're going to learn and understand that. You see? On this side, Esau's letting you do what you want. And the wages of sin is death. Okay? Because she was guilty of committing, her and her boyfriend were guilty of committing adultery. Okay? And pursuant to the law. And this is just the reality. You know? I know to you wicked people, this, that, and the third, she got done wrong, he shouldn't have did that. Hey, the Lord did it. Look, the God of the Bible and his only begotten son were behind that, man. You people think you know the Bible, and you think you know the Lord, you think you know God and who you ignorantly call God in Jesus Christ. You don't know who that is, man. You think you do, but you don't. Okay? The book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10, it reads, "And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer, which is him, and the adulteress, which is her, shall surely be put to death." Okay? This is how the God of the Bible and his only begotten son, you people ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ, get down. All right, these are the true righteous judgments that they stand on, not this philosophy that Esau has been pushing since the Renaissance period, man. Okay? Which is a form of him crucifying our Lord Yahweh Shai, as it tells us in Revelations 11. You see? No, this is the reality, man. This is why you see that sword judgment go forth. That's the explanation for it. See, you people don't understand the judgment that goes forth because you're wicked. Matter of fact, let me go get that precept real quick. The book of Proverbs. Chapter 28. And verse 5, and it reads, "Evil men understand not judgment, man. But they that seek the Lord Yahweh understand all things." So we know what this is about. This was the sword judgment that caught up with old girl and her boyfriend. And yeah, old boy got put down too. Okay, because we got to when you understand how the Lord gets down, the Lord took out three birds with one stone. Is what the Lord did. He used one scenario to knock off three spirits that were commanded to get called back. And this is the works of the Lord, man. Hey, this whole scenario has Yahweh Shai's hands all over it, man. Okay? And go read Psalm 68. All issues of death are of the Lord. All right, this is how we know. We know and clearly understand 144% without a doubt. This was the works of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And ultimately judgment. Okay? Okay, the wages of sin. Now let's read some of these comments. Check this out. This dude Eric M says sometimes you gotta thank God you're single. That's the spirit. That would be the first precept. But that comes with thorns in the flesh as well, being single. You know? That's why Apostle Paul said, if you're burning, you'll get you a wife. You know, but understand there's gonna be tribulation with that too. You know? You got certain men that think, being single is easier than having a woman, and it's truth, man. Nah, man. And you gotta have a special kind of spirit to actually have a woman or a family and still be hauling ass, man, when it comes to this work. Okay, still upholding the household and leading the household, taking care and pleasing your woman, being around for your child or children, doing all those things to the best of your ability, balancing all that time, having to work, having hobbies, having to keep yourself in health. Come on, man. It ain't easy. You gotta have the Lord gotta be dealing. Look it. No Love Trend says, never date woman going through divorce or newly divorced. Right. You are setting yourself up for failure. Khan. Yup. Blessings to all involved. I don't know about all that. That was straight up judgment was what that was. Okay? Men, don't mess with married women. This is Rav Hollywood. Men, don't mess with married women. There are tons of cases like this. That's facts. Why? Judgment. Ultimately, it all goes back to the scriptures. You see? It all goes back to the scriptures, man. The reason why there's tons of cases like this because the scriptures reign supreme. Proverbs 6:34. Okay? This is why there's many cases like this with men messing with married women and then getting sent back to the spiritual realm with her or on his own or by himself. 7 kids, Scotty P says 7 kids. Hey, yo, old boy said 7 kids with different daddies on a date, not even divorced yet. 4 years old with a BBL. Listen, this is what I'm saying. Look, I'm sorry not to blame the victim, but this was never going to end well, right? That's a fact. Let's read that one more time. 7 kids with different daddies, and we figured that out through the see, the Lord's beautiful, man. We found that out because her daughter posted up on her social media, man, talking about my stepdad murdered my mom. So that's how we know that all 7 of those kids are not his. So there's already a schism right there as far as her stance. Right? Look, 7 kids with different daddies, man. On a date, not even divorced yet. 40 years old with a BBL? Right. I'm sorry not to blame the victim, but this is never going to end well, right? And that's a fact. Let's see who responded. LOL has 7 kids, put the magic stick down, Maria. Ooh, Khan. But it all goes back to the word I used earlier in the beginning of the lesson. Lasciviousness. Okay? This is what the world, that's the vibration that this world's operating under. They're operating under the spirit of lasciviousness, man. Okay? Which takes you back to pretty much an offensive sexual desire for the most part. These people they're sex addicts. They can't get enough because of the world that Esau's then created. That's why that's the case. Because when you meditate on that 7 kids, man, think about, oh my goodness, and she's still out there. Man, she was still out there. Let's see. Ooh, look at this. I'm not even going to say her name, but it says, yup, she was a 304 and he was a simp. Right. That's fair. Hey, and what the proof is in the pudding. All right, their stats show that. You know? Hey, and we're going to leave it right there. I'm not going to go through all these comments. I just wanted to just see what, how the world's viewing that judgment that went forth. And at the end of the day, we can give a damn what the world thinks or says. As far as the Bible is concerned, and what Yahweh Bashim Yahushai says, and considers that behavior to be like, it's not acceptable. Okay? And ultimately, she was met head on with grievous judgment. Her boyfriend, and ultimately her ex-husband as well. You see, it all worked out in the favor of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai at the end of the day. You see? As scripture says here, we'll close out with this. The book of Hebrews, chapter 10 and verse 31, and it reads, "It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power." Shalom.